I like when dogs are sleeping and like they make these bubbly noises. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like the bloop, bloop, bloop.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, I love that noise. You don't know what I'm talking about, Gare?
I don't think I do.
You never Sookie's never done that?
Sookie kind of snores or wheezes when she sleeps.
Oh, Scudder does like and Harvey used to do it too, where he's sleeping and he's just like bloop, bloop.
It's really cute.
Bloop. Oh, it's adorable. I love it.
Yeah.
Dogs are the best.
They are the best.
I love animals.
Me too.
They're so much better than people.
I like my cat is sleeping and you just like if you like pat her or just touch her, she'll just go.
Oh.
She makes like the tiniest little just like.
I had a cat when I was little, and I would actually squeeze the air out of her, and I didn't realize that's what I was doing. But I liked the noise she'd make when I did it. Like I would hold her, and then I'd squeeze her like really hard and really quick, like that, like really hard and really quick, and she would make like this like like the. I thought it was hilarious.
You're like the little girl from
Elmira?
Yes.
That's what my mom used to call me when I was a little kid. She called me Elmira.
Love them and hug them and squeeze them.
I did.
What was this?
Tiny Toons.
Tiny
Toons.
Okay, yes.
Only,
that I
like,
remember.
one of the greatest cartoons.
They're tiny, they're toony, they're all a little loony.
And in this
cartoony,
cartoony, we're invading your TV.
Guys, I don't think we have the rights to that.
Oh no. How long was that?
How long was...
How many seconds was that?
We just have to learn something from it so that it's educational purposes and it's fair use. So what did we learn from that?
From that audio?
Mm-hmm.
Gare learned the lyrics. Because he didn't know them.
Okay, I'm going to vote yes.
Okay, yes. Vote yes. So this is She's Blaine, and this is part 2 of our How to Be a Woman According to Hollywood episode. I'm TL.
I'm Brie.
And we have our designated dude, Garrett.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Brie. Hi, TL.
Hi, Garrett.
Thanks for having me back.
Although,
do we say thanks for having me back? Do they know we're recording this all on the same afternoon?
Well, now they do.
Gary, you ruined the magic.
I mean,
ruined
this is what editing is for.
Magic.
I'm just kidding. I'm going to leave that in.
I'm going to leave it in too because...
I'm going to leave us talking about leaving it in.
It's too much work. Sorry, Gare. The magic of editing does not work with me. Does not.
I actually like editing. I thought I wanted to be an editor.
I did too when I was first going to school. I was like, I could do this.
Yeah.
And then I decided not to.
I decided I didn't want to be in a dark room all day.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much made the decision for me.
Yeah. It's not fun. I mean, it is fun for people who do enjoy it, but it's a dark room all day.
Yeah, I'm also too much of a perfectionist. I'm too obsessive.
Also, especially when you're like that, you don't get to make executive decisions all the time when you're an editor. A lot of times you're listening to directors and producers and creatives and blah, 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 blah.
Entertainment.
Hollywood.
The industry.
Sounds like a radio... Hollywood, the industry.
Lights, camera, action.
Anyone who's listening, Gare's available for
voiceover.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Oh, God.
Gare, this is
Open
not...
a can of worms.
Stop, it's not an audition.
I did. I totally did that, didn't I? I was just like, I'm gonna show them my skills.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right,
I'm
so
sorry.
Rein it in.
Bring it back. In this episode, there's a couple things we're going to talk about.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm just going to...
Just go into it. What are you going to talk about?
Okay, I'm going to get real pumped up first. Ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3. All right, we're going to talk about female friendships, and that is meaning friendships between two female persons.
Like us. Not you.
And
Garrett, not you.
Here's the thing about female friendships is that we're pretty much experts.
Yeah. Because, one, we have friendships.
And
2, we're female.
yes,
So there you go.
2 out of 2.
2 out of 2. But 3, bonus, we're friends with each other.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, we
There
pretty
you
much
go.
got this down.
Yeah.
So here, the thing about female friendships in Hollywood is that often they're written really negatively. Particularly, I found doing research with this was that particularly female friendships in teen movies are really catty, shallow, oftentimes mean, motivated by jealousy.
And what do we call that? Internalized misogyny.
Yeah, and sometimes it seems like they're placeholders for the boyfriend that they want. You know, like you have close friends because you don't have a boyfriend or you're looking for one or whatever. And then, you know, also they're in competition for male attention. Like that's all we have to talk about with each other. And vindictive, like catty, just all these really terrible things. Like, I mean, teen movies, Mean Girls, Heathers, Jawbreaker, Clueless, The Craft. Really shitty friends to each other.
But also, those are not just movies where that is an example. Those are iconic movies.
Mm-hmm.
That seeing them is sort of a rite of passage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a struggle for me because all of those movies that I just listed, I love them.
Yeah. Sun
They're-
Valley. That's from Clueless. That's my favorite line in Clueless.
That's my favorite line, too. I say that every time I drive by the Circus Liquor.
I do too. Sun Valley. That's not Sun Valley, by the way. That's Burbank.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Burbank.
Burbank. But that doesn't sound as cute when you say it.
Sun Valley.
Burbank.
Burbank. Yeah, because Burbank's like, I don't know. It sounds like nice people live in Burbank, but Sun Valley is like a little.
Yeah. Oh, well, do you think the joke is that she doesn't even know where she is?
I think the joke is that we don't know where she is. So
Yeah.
Sun Valley. Yeah. And also, like, I lived in Sun Valley. It's.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the times it's maybe they're not actively terrible to each other, but the thing is just that one of them is basically a plot device to drive the other friend's story by listening and supporting them and sometimes providing comic relief. Which brings me to a particular trope that fits within that category of the quote black best friend, which as a trope it's not always a black person, and this is a lot more common with women than men characters, but it happens with male characters as well, where the best friend will be the black best friend and they're comic relief, or they're just there to like listen to the white person's problems.
Yeah. And sometimes they are a gay best friend, or they are a plus size best friend,
Right.
or they are of a different religion. So
Mhm.
when I say that, I mean like Jewish women.
Yeah. They fall into some sort of category that's determined to be quote other.
They're tokens.
Yeah, they're tokens, and they're there to fulfill diversity without actually being a character of substance.
Mm-hmm.
Just some examples of that would be Wanda Sykes in The New Adventures of Old Christine.
Oh, in our last episode, I did not mention The New Adventures of Old Christine with the single moms, and I really should have,
Oh, yeah.
because I like the way that show does it. Once again, she's like a white woman who's not necessarily struggling that hard, but she does have more struggles than what we normally see, and her husband is like annoying and gross, and that's it. But so these shows do sometimes get things right, but they do get other things very wrong.
Right.
So definitely Wanda Sykes is a good example of that in that show.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing on TV a lot, but also in movies, the best friend in Matilda doesn't have a whole lot of a story arc. Angela in Boy Meets World, I mean, she kind of toes the line. She has some story, but
I think she's there for Sean.
Yeah.
I don't think that she's really there. I mean, in the New Adventures of Old Christine, Wanda Sykes like has stories because they love each other in that show, but they're not fleshed out. I feel like these characters aren't fleshed out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's actually one actress that has played. She was in Alias as the black best friend, and then she was in 2 subsequent series after that, like doing the same thing.
Oh my god.
Her name is Marin Dungy or Dungy. She's great. I mean, I think she's great, but she definitely has been typecast as that, which is a total
and she
bummer.
keeps getting cast, which means that maybe she should get her own show.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about Dion and Clueless?
Sorry.
Okay. What about Dion and Clueless? I mean, they have a very close friendship, but she's there to kind of just support Cher and doesn't do a whole lot else. I mean, she gets into fights with her boyfriend and then they make up. That's kind of her whole thing. No arc. She doesn't change in any way.
No, she doesn't learn anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like Cher learns anything from her either.
No, I mean their friendship it's just kind of there.
It's superficial.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like they're friends because there's like a deep connection there. I feel like they're friends because of circumstance.
They're friends because they're both rich.
Yeah.
I think. And then the way they treat Brittany Murphy is so patronizing.
Oh, it really is. Like, she's their little dolly.
Ugh, it's gross.
It's weird.
And then the way that Cher treats her when Josh starts to like her. The way Cher treats... What is Brittany Murphy's character's name?
I don't remember.
It's something like white trashy.
Remember that one time what is Brittany Murphy's boyfriend in that movie? Like who what's his name?
Wasn't it Owen?
Breckenmeyer.
Remember when we saw Breckenmeyer at that barn and we were like it was trivia night?
Yes.
And we were like, Breckenmeyer, I yelled at him. I don't remember. I was really drunk and I yelled at Breckenmeyer when I was leaving the bar.
Because if you ever want to meet Breckenmeyer, go to Bigfoot Lodge Trivia Night.
We're not going to guarantee that he's there, but he's definitely there one time.
Go like every week and he'll be there one time.
Eventually. It's a great bar.
They have delicious cocktails there.
Delicious cocktails.
And some of them, they set on fire.
Yeah.
Which I'm really into.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're really crappy to Ty, who's Brittany Murphy's character. And, you know, they kind of like treat her like a little doll. And then when the little doll like gets her own ideas and becomes her own person and gains confidence, which is another whole issue, the fact that she gains confidence from her makeover. But we talked about that in a Christmas episode. Once she becomes her own person, they're kind of like, how dare you? Like, I made you, you know?
Yeah.
It's gross.
And they still want her to kind of conform to what they think and still follow their rules. Like, they want her to date a certain person that she's not interested in. They don't want her to be with Breckenmeyer because he's like a skater boy.
He's like the stoner.
Yeah.
He's actually kind of cool. I mean, he's nice, right?
He's definitely what I would have dated in high school.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have liked his hair because he has long hair.
Yeah.
I would have been like, eh.
I don't think I would have dated any of the guys in that movie. Maybe Murray.
I definitely. Donald Faison. Oh my god, I love him.
He's great.
One time I saw him at Target.
You did?
I did. I saw him at Target. He was with his wife, and he I opened up the freezer section and somebody was like, hey, can you hand me some of those spicy black bean patties? Because they were Morningstar. And I looked and it was Donald Faison. And I was like, yeah, I can.
Oh my goodness. I love that. Yeah, he's played the black best friend a couple times. But he usually,
has.
when he does, he usually has, like...
In Scrubs, I feel like that friendship was very fair.
Yeah. That was a great friendship, actually.
It was. It was a good friendship, and he had a good marriage, and we saw his marriage. We saw other parts of his life, and we were involved in other parts of his life. And you don't really get that with a lot of female friends.
Totally. Yeah. So Mean Girls? How do you talk about Mean Girls? Because...
That's what I was going to ask. It's been a while since I've seen Mean Girls. Isn't that the catharsis in Mean Girls? Like, stop being shitty to each other?
Yeah, it is, but it's calling it out and everything, but at the same time, it's also contributing to
It
that
definitely
being
is.
the narrative of teenage friendships.
It is. And it also contributes to a lot of bad stereotypes as far as teenage girls in general are concerned.
Uh-huh.
That you have this group of, like, not necessarily serious girls who only care about superficial things, and that's what all girls are like. And that's...
Yeah, or that you have to be mean to be popular.
Yes. But then you have to reject that stereotype to be a good person.
Right.
Which is unfair. You can wear pink on Wednesdays. You can like to do makeup, and you can like to have all of these things that are stereotypically girly, and you can still be a good person. And that's, like, my issue with Mean Girls is that even though it's trying to call that out, it was still a mean movie.
Yeah. I do have to clarify one thing with Mean Girls, and that's that butter is not a carb.
Good. I'm glad now I know. Okay, good.
What about Buffy and Willow in Buffy the Vampire Slayer? I feel like that's a pretty...
Well, I think because Buffy was so long running, I think Willow starts out as, like, the accessory best
silly
friend.
best friend.
Yeah, the quirky. What was the stereotype you wanted to talk about? It was like the quirky, unattractive.
Yeah, quotation marks, unattractive, like, very silly, flaky kind of best friend.
So
that floats. She just, like, floats.
Yeah. So the perfect example, and also they don't exist except for when they're with the protagonist.
Exactly.
So, like, Kimmy from Full House. Oh, Miranda from the Lizzie McGuire show.
Yes. Poor Miranda.
Yeah, she's so cool, though.
Yeah,
She
no,
had
I
all
love
those, like,
Miranda.
cool
She had cool hair.
things.
Yeah. She was always like, I've got a ponytail on the side in the middle, and that's wacky. But
Yeah.
it looked cool.
Or even, I think you could even argue Sookie from Gilmore Girls.
Yes, I definitely think that you could.
Would fall into the quirky best friend. But although she does end up getting married and everything. But
She gets married and she has children, and they kind of give her a little bit more of a story.
But does she ever, like, go over to Lorelai's for, like, a glass of wine? She's always in the kitchen.
She does.
Okay.
She definitely does, but it's to cook for Lorelai. I think there's one episode where Lorelai and Luke have Sookie and Sookie's husband over for dinner. And that's it.
I literally couldn't recall a single...
She's usually only at Lorelai's to cook her food. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's the boxes that we put friends in because they're just there for plot devices.
Yeah. Like, why else would she be at her friend's house but to comfort her and give her food?
Yeah. I particularly loved the episode of You're the Worst when the friend characters, Edgar and Lindsay, they keep getting blown off by the main characters to meet up for dinner, and they start to realize that they're the sidekicks, And then they get kind of angry about it. They're like, we're not going to be the sidekicks. And it's just a really cool self-aware moment. But also as characters, they do have a lot more than most sidekick characters do.
Oh, yeah. You really get to see who Lindsay is and all of her faults and quirks, but also that she can be a sweet person, which I really like.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of depth to Lindsay.
Oh, I think it's great because when you first meet her, you think she's like this kind of like shallow, like airhead.
Yeah.
And then there's so much more to her that makes her interesting. And Edgar too, like, has all this background stuff with being a vet. And
yeah. I
it's
really
cool.
like it. I think it's good.
Mm-hmm.
One show that I think got it right was True Blood.
Oh.
Even though Sookie is Sookie.
Sookie.
Wait.
Oh,
Garrett, say it.
Sookie, it is my duty to protect you.
Once again, Garrett is available for voiceover work.
Wait, when I talked about Gilmore Girls, did I call her Sookie?
You called her
Sookie?
You called her Sookie. It's Sookie.
I think it's just because of Garrett's dog. Sookie is so much more in my mind than Suki.
True.
My dog
true.
Sookie is more in my mind than Suki as well.
Cool.
Okay.
Well,
we're all on the same page.
Cool. All right, great.
We're all there. But True Blood, I think, really, they get it right. Even though Sookie is pretty self-involved in her own drama, Tara still has a lot of her own things going on that we get to see and we get to be a part of, and we get to see Tara evolve into a totally, completely different character. And their friendship is still... It still has dynamic to it, like a good dynamic to it, even when it's strained.
Yeah.
It's realistic.
Well, Tara, I feel like Tara kind of starts out as like the black best friend, and then she gets to take off and have her own story.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
That's what you were saying about Willow, too, right? Like,
Willow.
she starts out as, like, the ornament, but,
Yeah.
like, by the time you get, like, halfway through the series, she's got...
Yeah, she
She's
gets
got her own
to
thing
have,
going on.
like, her own conflicts and storylines, and, like, I mean, she's so much more interesting than... What's his name?
Xander?
Ugh.
I always want to call him Christian. I don't know why. Yeah, Xander. We can't even talk about Xander, please.
I don't
that's
want to. I
let's
never
not-
acknowledge
not
Xander
do it.
as, like, a main character because he's annoying and he's problematic.
Why didn't they just get rid of him when they went to college?
Right? He would have gone somewhere else.
Did he contribute? Like, I know that he started out as the comic relief, but then he just then he was just an annoying white dude.
Because annoying white dudes writing it think that that's not an annoying white dude and that it's a person that everyone wants to be around and watch.
Oh, I wanted to particularly talk about the movie Bride Wars. Because most of the ones that I mentioned earlier, or we've been talking about, were teenagers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, teenage relationships are tumultuous, and
Well, like, I'm not gonna lie, teenagers are filled with hormones.
yeah,
And they're working their shit out. They're pre-adults.
Mhm.
There's a lot to figure out before you become an adult.
but there's no excuse for a movie like Bride Wars.
No.
Those people are not friends.
No.
The way that they behave towards each other,
No.
that is not friendship.
It's not friendship. And it's not realistic.
No.
Also, can we say that this was written by Casey Wilson? And Casey Wilson, we know that you were forced into this.
Well, I here's what I think happened, because just what I know about how things work in Hollywood is that probably what happened is that they wrote something that was actually pretty good, and then the studios were like, okay, let's do this and make it horrible,
Yeah.
because that happens.
That happens a lot.
And this was like 2009, way before happy endings. Casey Wilson didn't have any kind of clout, so I'm sure they just did it. But speaking of Grace and Frankie, I love their friendship.
I love that show.
It's one of my favorites, and I especially love how it comes out of how it evolves. It starts as, it's very strained. It's not a friendship at all, actually. and they end up hanging out together because both their husbands leave them for each other.
But they know they're familiar. They've
Yeah.
known each other for years and years and years, and they sort of just tolerated the other.
But that's what I love about it, is that they tolerated each other for so long, and then out of necessity they are spending all this time together, and they finally find a way to be open-minded enough to find the things to like and eventually love in each other.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is really wonderful. And you also don't get to see a lot of nice, positive friendships between older women. I mean, First Wives Club is Golden Girls. How is that not on my list, actually?
I don't know.
Oh my god, Golden Girls. Coming soon.
My wife, Alyssa, if you put a random episode on mute at a random point, she can tell you what they're talking about, because she used to watch it with her grandmother.
I respect that. I respect that.
Fantastic. Yeah. I really love when you get to see older women and their friendships that are so strong. Is really, really, really cool.
I think it's cool too. But especially with Grace and Frankie, because that friendship is not an established friendship, and they're able to create that late in their life, which I think is a wonderful thing to say, because a lot of people sort of give up on that, and we as a society encourage it. Like we don't say, like, you know, it's kind of like you can't teach a dog new tricks, you know?
Yeah.
And Grace and Frankie is just a really good example of how that's not true at all. And you can change so many parts of your life at a later stage.
Yeah.
And you can meet all of these new wonderful people and develop all of these different relationships at any point in your life.
Yeah, I mean, especially because the narrative with older women is always, it's that they don't have any value unless they have kids or a husband. And once you take their relationships away, what is the point of them is basically what we're told. And it's nice to see two women that I think are kind of feel that way, and then they're able to find the value in each other.
Oh, yeah.
As people, as humans, and that's, I really like that a lot. I really like it a lot. Speaking of Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda.
Working 9 to 5.
Okay, let's make an effort to talk
Oh my
about
god,
Dolly.
I never put it together.
What? That
they were in 9 to 5 together. Oh, I never. Why hasn't she been on?
Why hasn't Dolly been on?
Yes.
I don't know, but she should. But I also think that we need to make an effort to mention Dolly in every single episode.
Dolly Parton, angel walking on earth. Actual angel. Like, she is a physical angel.
I love her.
You guys, we saw her at the Hollywood Bowl in October, and she actually glowed like an angel.
Oh,
She has a real life halo.
she's amazing. And she's just like performed like you wouldn't believe for her age. And then when she got tired, she sat down.
And she told you.
She was like, listen, I'm however old she is, I'm gonna sit down.
I need to sit. And she did.
She's a treasure.
She was a 9 to 5.
She's a 9 to 5, and I love their friendship in that movie. They're so supportive of each other, and they bond over sexism in the workplace. It's fantastic and so inspirational.
It really is.
Of course, they're all white, but
When are they? When is Lifetime gonna remake 9 to 5?
oh my god, I would be so on board for that. Let's write it. Let's write it and pitch it.
Shut up, all you
Patent
out there.
pending.
This is patent pending. Patent pending. We're doing it. Let's do it.
We're gonna call it 10 to 6.
We're gonna call it 10 to 11 p.m. and you don't get paid overtime.
Ugh.
Because
Are they Hollywood assistants?
Yeah, they're Hollywood assistants. You don't get paid overtime, and you're screwed because Obamacare is not a thing.
Let's rewrite it and make them workers
We're
that...
just gonna do it. We're just gonna do it. We're just gonna do it. Patent pending. But
That was my noise of excitement.
Garrett, what do you think about that? You've never seen 9 to 5.
I've never seen 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I'm always excited to see creative seeds be planted, though, and for people to pursue their passion projects.
Garrett, let's watch 9 to 5. But also, one time I took Terry Lynn for her birthday to go see the play, and it was great.
It was wonderful.
Where was it playing?
Down in Redondo.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay, so there are some other ones I really love. Issa and Molly's relationship on Insecure.
Yeah.
Their friendship is so wonderful.
And
because they fight, but they're so straight with each other, but also kind. Like they're not mean when they're straight with each other. And I mean they do have like a fight, but
that also happens.
It happens, but then they have like this amazing.
They understand the value of each other.
Yeah.
And
It's
there
so
is
great.
a value there.
But they're not afraid
Do you have
to
blue
be like,
eyes?
Me?
Yeah.
They're hazel.
Oh, they look blue right now.
It's probably just the atmosphere,
Oh,
like
okay.
my environment.
Cool. But yeah, I like that they value each other and they know the value, and it's shown in
Mhm.
the show. We get to see it,
Yeah,
and we get to see them appreciate it.
And I love that she's not just an accessory friend either. You know, she
Yeah.
has her whole storylines and stuff, and they're there for each other. And when they have phone conversations, it's not one-sided. Like, they're talking about each other's things.
Yeah.
That's going on in their lives. And
It's not Rory Gilmore.
no. And I love, like, there's that one scene where they're at the party and there's, or the fundraising party, and there's a guy that Issa doesn't want to see, and Molly just like they just like look at each other. They have like a look, and she just goes and takes care of it, and it's like it's great. Like that's how friendships are.
Yeah, that's how it works.
It's wonderful because you don't even have to say it. Like you can talk without talking.
Yeah.
And I love to see that, and I particularly love to see that in women of color because we don't see that a lot.
We don't see women of color with their own TV shows a lot in the
Well,
first place.
Yeah.
But we also don't get to see their friendship dynamics
Mm-hmm.
either.
Yeah, I think it's great. Other TV friends I really, really love are Parks and Rec. Leslie and Anne are just so adorable.
I love Leslie's obsession with Anne.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a scary obsession. It's
No.
really sweet.
It's
But
precious.
she's obsessed with Anne.
Because Leslie can see all the good in people. I mean, it's like all she sees. And Anne is just really good.
Yeah.
And I love them together. They're so wonderful. And Anne it kind of reminds me of my relationship. Well, I don't know how to say this, but my relationship with Heather, my best friend from college, that I'm still a best friend now, but she's like so intense and like, and she loves to like reaffirm things all the time. And I'm a little bit more subdued because she's so intense.
Yeah.
But my love is just as fierce for her as it is for me. And I think Anne is like that too. Like she's not as like,
Yeah.
about it, but she feels it.
No, it's definitely there. And that's where we get Galentine's.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, Galentine's is my favorite holiday.
I
the
love
whole
Galentine's.
year. We get to do Galentine's. We didn't get to do it last year
That's okay.
because I was in Australia, but this year we're gonna do it. It's coming back with a vengeance. And we even do a Secret Sally
We do.
gift exchange.
And we love it. It's so much fun.
It's really nice to just honor your lady friends.
It is.
I think we usually just like say really nice things to each other.
We do. Like I've already got my
Usually write out cards, don't you?
I usually do cards and for every person in the group. And then I usually do like a little gift for every person in the group.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already got my little gift.
Have you?
Yeah, they're
I
really
usually
cute.
do a little thing too, but I haven't found anything I love
I
yet.
found them at Target.
Mm.
They were cute. Anyway, Galentine's is really cool.
Yes,
But
Galentine's.
that's exactly why that's such a good representation because
yes,
you and I see it and then we're like, oh, that's perfect for us and for
appreciating
Yeah.
your lady friends, supporting them, letting them know how much you appreciate them.
And also with Parks and Rec, Leslie is just as supportive of April.
April, yeah.
Yeah, of April as she is of Anne, and encouraging. And April's much younger than Leslie, but Leslie's still excited about her coming up and wants her to do well. There's no competition.
Oh, I love how even though April is very resistant and maybe doesn't start out thinking of Leslie as a role model, but Leslie always champions her and doesn't care how much April resists. She's always going to push her and be there for her because, again, she sees the good in people and she values other women, wants to raise them up and support them. And I love that. That's something we don't get to see a lot. And we need that. We need those kinds of examples.
We also need examples, once again, with Parks and Rec, Tom and Donna.
Oh, yeah.
They have a wonderful friendship, too.
They do.
And I love to see friendships that are male and female as well.
Yeah,
that's not awkward, and they never have that, like, will they or won't they? But it's just a friendship that's a loving friendship, and they get along so well, and they have things in common. And there's that really great dynamic there because we have a friend in common. His name's Bud. That's how my mom says it. She's always like, Bud.
But now he's going to think he's special because we're talking about him on the podcast.
We'll cut all this. But it's a similar thing where we've said it before, we don't think of him necessarily as a man.
Are you going to say it?
I think of him as a Ken doll. Or there's just like nothing there. But there's no like, will they or won't they? Like it was never like that, ever. And that's the same thing with Donna and Tom.
Yeah.
But you get to see them have all this fun together.
You know, the thing that drives me, when you said that just now, I was almost going to say like a brother-sister dynamic. And I actually kind of hate that I went to that because we actually have so few examples of those kinds of friendships.
Yeah.
That aren't brother-sister, that
also aren't a woman and a gay best friend.
Yeah, and it's really important to see those because I think those kinds of friendships are great.
Men and women can be friends. I hate when people are like, they can't just be friends.
It's dumb.
Fuck you, that's stupid.
It's dumb.
You can't because you are just, there's something inside of you that's telling you not to, and it's internalized misogyny.
Well, yeah, there's something that's telling you that women are only have value if they're romantic interests.
Exactly. And that's not true.
No.
I'm a fun friend.
Gare.
You know what else? We're really good wingmen.
We're fun and we're good wingmen. And what else are we, Gare? Tell us how much you love us.
Tell us why you love being our friend.
Yeah.
Start with my eyes.
Terry and Bree both have wonderful eyes, but you know what? You've got wonderful personalities, wonderful intellects, and you could both have bags over your heads, and you'd both still be wonderful friends.
Aww. But we're also pretty, though.
Yeah, but pretty
gorgeous.
Too. Yeah. Thanks.
Just to clarify.
Oh yeah, Gare is our friend. I totally forgot about Gare when I said.
We've got this guy friend. And it's Bud. Oh.
I think I love having most of my guy friends I'm friends with their partners as well. But Bud is the only one that I think is not like that. But I love all my guy friends. They're so great for different reasons. And I love to talk to them about different things. I love that I get to be a perspective for them that they don't get from their guy friends.
But I have one friend who I feel like I'm the only one who is coming to him from my perspective and sort of, giving him truth on a lot of things in the world that he doesn't get to see in his everyday life. But he values that.
Yeah.
And he listens to me. Even if he pretends like he doesn't, he'll come back to me later on and he will have listened to me about it.
Yeah, I think those kinds of friendships are really important, and I wish that we got to see more of them
Me too.
reflected in our media.
You know what we don't need more of? Final Girls. Not the movie Final Girls.
That one. Wait, which one was
The bad one? The bad one was The Final Girl.
okay?
And then there was Final Girls, which I haven't watched. I have no interest in. I'm sure people love it. Doesn't look like a movie that I would really love.
Oh, I actually liked it. As someone that's not a huge fan of the horror. Oh God.
It's hard for me to say too. It sounds like I'm saying horror genre.
I can't actually say that word.
Horror. You know what word I can't say? Hamburger, which I'm pretty sure we've already talked about. So horror genre.
I'm not a big fan. I do enjoy it, movies from time to time, but I felt like I enjoyed it because I knew enough about the genre to get what it was playing fun at. It was fun. It was what Bud would call a fun flick.
Oh, Bud loved it.
Yeah.
Bud, our Kendall friend, loved it.
Mm-hmm.
He tells me all the time that I should see it. I just don't think that little Farmiga, I don't know her first name, is a great actress. I really just don't think she's a good actress.
Yeah.
And
but I love Mel.
I do too. I love her. I
can't say her name. Malin Ackerman? Is that it?
She just, y'all know what we're talking about. I do love her. I just, anyway, Final Girls, I'll watch it eventually. It's just not high on my priority list.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's great. Gare, what's a Final Girl?
Final Girl is a trope wherein you usually have, it's the girl who is pure and good at heart who makes it to the end of a horror film because she is pure and good at heart.
She mostly you pretty much have to be a virgin.
Yeah, it's very.
I mean, occasionally you cannot be a virgin and still survive, but it's better if you are.
Do you know where that comes from?
I mean the film or the idea.
The trope.
I mean Halloween is the first.
It actually the term Final Girl comes from Men, Women, and Chainsaws, which was a book written in 1992.
Okay.
It's referring to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween. Carol J. Clover is the writer. The Final Girl trope is beloved by feminists and it's hated by feminists. This is something that some people are really divided on.
What's the argument on loving it?
I think the argument on loving it is kind of like what it was before when it started to originate. It wasn't necessarily like a virginal woman who beat this boss level, sort of like a video game with a very phallic symbol. It was just kind of like a woman being tough and smart and getting through an awful situation and coming through on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely changed and it's definitely gotten worse because directors have taken that trope, and this is why I hate tropes and they need to stop. Then, especially in the horror genre, and they've just blown it up and they've stuck to it to a T in many, many movies since.
Yeah, it's almost like they take what's at the heart of it, which is an empowered female character, and then completely ignore that and take the superficial parts of it.
Exactly.
And run with that.
Exactly. And I'm not necessarily here to argue that Final Girls shouldn't be a thing, but they shouldn't be one thing. And that's what my issue with the Final Girl trope is. And so, Gare, I'm going to ask you another thing.
Oh.
I want you to describe a Final Girl physically. First, physically, and then I want you to describe different characteristics that she would have.
Physically, I feel like they're usually pretty conservatively dressed. I'm thinking of Laurie Strode. Characteristics, I mean,
What do
Keep
they
going with
look like?
physical. Like, yeah, what do they
Like,
look
if you were to describe...
I mean, I feel like most of them are probably white. I can't think of a person of color who was a final girl. Usually lighter colored hair, maybe not blonde. But I feel like, as far as characteristics, they're usually nerdy. They're usually bookish.
Not
Not
sexually...
outgoing. Not... I'm using air quotes. You can't see me. Usually not sexualized, which is why I say, like, usually conservatively dressed. Usually they're not drinking. They're not. That's the other element of it, right? No pot, no smoking, no drinking.
Yeah, there's no risky behavior.
Yes, you deserve it if you drink.
Well, duh, you were drinking.
Well, no, actually, all the things that you're describing, I'm realizing are all the things that women get accused of doing when they're sexually assaulted.
Mm-hmm.
Is what they wear. Were they drinking?
Mm-hmm.
Why were they with strangers?
Yeah. They don't partake in risky behavior.
Yeah.
And what you just described is definitely what a final girl is.
Mhm.
And what the final girl has become. Another thing that has always bothered me about final girls is that the real final girl to me in this situation is the girl who walked away from, like, all of this to begin with. The girl that you don't see, who's like, this shit's weird, I'm gonna go home. Like, that's the final girl. That's the smart girl. But men who think they're progressive prefer their women to be, like, cunning and really smart and also brave. They don't really allow women to be practical.
Mm.
The final girl's not practical at all. She makes bad choices, but her choices are okay because she's brave. And
Yeah, I almost feel like that's not a real person.
It's not.
Someone that starts out bookish and not very outspoken and, you know, virginal
yeah,
is suddenly
virginal.
going to become this brave, cunning...
warrior.
Yeah, I mean...
Like this brave, cunning warrior, and that's not realistic. Most final girls are in high school. I am actually kind of having a hard time thinking of final girls that aren't in high school.
I feel like, and maybe this is a shout out. A final girl not in high school, and I mean basically a final girl, but maybe done right would be Ripley. Yeah, she's practical. She's outspoken. She's smart.
I
Is
wouldn't
she a
consider
final
her a
girl?
final girl.
Not in the sense that, I mean, almost literally a final girl. Like what that word means if you're not attaching.
Yeah, if you're not attaching to
the-
it, yeah,
the tropes.
she's an actual final. She's the final girl.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess to me, Ripley's never been a representation of that because Ripley's choices aren't. Ripley has a job to do.
Mhm.
And Ripley doesn't necessarily know what she's getting into, but she knows that she's going into the unknown because that's her profession.
Mhm.
And that's why she's smart. She's not smart because she needs to be in this particular situation.
Mhm.
And she's not like, I don't know, I guess I just don't consider Ripley to be a final girl trope.
I think she fits more into the classic male action hero.
I would say that more so in Aliens, certainly, than I think I would in Alien. Because because Alien it's got action elements, but it's really a horror film, you know.
I guess for me, a final girl is preyed upon
Mhm.
without her knowledge.
Mhm.
And she's chosen. And
Mm.
Ripley, that's not really Ripley. Ripley is not aware of this situation,
Mhm.
but there's definitely an element of danger that she's going into, and she's aware of that element of danger.
Yeah.
She's not it wasn't presented to her, and she's doing it out of necessity because she has to be like this brave, strong person, and she's never been a brave, strong person before
Mhm.
in her entire life, and now she gets to be.
Mhm.
She's a smart person. She has a job to do. She's good at her job, and she's going to do it. And yeah, the situation's thrust upon her,
Mhm.
but she's doing it because it's her job. It's not because she's going to come out on the other end a woman.
Mhm.
You know, she doesn't start as a girl and come out a woman.
Yeah.
The preyed upon element
Yeah.
is a good one. That's
Yeah, she's
certainly
not preyed upon.
more prevalent in other horror films like
Oh, yeah.
Halloween. Well, that's the other thing. kind of interesting too about Ripley is like a lot of these tropes that we're talking about, like Alien was kind of there at the beginning, but like were these tropes yet? The more specific, the more horror specific.
Ripley is great because none of those things are bad about women.
Mm-hmm.
And women are there are women who are like that. And there are women in the horror genre who are like that, like Ripley. It's just that the situations are different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a script that needs to be followed.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a script that was followed with Ripley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
I think the thing that makes Ripley such a good character is that I don't think she actually fits into any one category.
No, she's
that
so dimensional.
Especially not that we usually traditionally put women in.
Exactly.
And that's what makes her great.
Side note, guys, there's a huge strip of hair on the back of my leg I forgot to shave.
Oh, cool.
But, like, I've been forgetting to shave it for days. It's like a week worth.
When you looked down and said side note and had that serious voice, I thought you were going to say there was a giant spider under the table.
I leapt to spider too.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one.
I would have left it if there was a giant spider.
Just a brief aside, because we were talking about single moms earlier, and you mentioned like the malification, masculinization of Ripley. And before we started talking about single moms, the ones that ran through my head were mostly all movie single moms, and mostly all that. So Sarah Connor, The Bride, and Ripley she takes on a very maternal role in Aliens.
Oh yeah, she definitely does.
Which is again action.
Yeah, but even when she's maternal, I wouldn't put it in a traditional maternal role. If there were a guy in that role doing the things to protect that child, I don't think anything would change dialogue-wise with her character.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Final Girls.
Final Girls. Okay, so also what comes along with the Final Girls are usually in these movies are other archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the dumb blonde,
Mm-hmm.
who's like the slutty dumb blonde, and which is interesting because Final Girls have changed. Part of their evolution, if you look at it now, they're all brunette, and that's because this like dumb blonde, bubbly bimbo stereotype kind of started happening in other forms of media, and it didn't want to be confused. So if you have like a dumb blonde bimbo as your final girl, that's confusing because she's not virginal. Even if she is a virgin and we never address her sexuality, she's still not virginal to people who are watching. Mm-hmm. So
sluts get cut.
Sluts get cut. Sluts get cut. You also have jocks and nerds and, of course, the final girl. And those are the archetypes that you're seeing in these stories. So I Know You Did Last Summer, Scream. Even though Scream is very self-aware, they're still contributing, and they're contributing in the way where they don't have people of color. And that's another reason why, that's the biggest reason why the final girl is such a big problem. Because you have to follow this script and you have to follow this character description, which I think people respond well to in horror. It's easy to watch a horror movie if you know what's going to happen, but they're sticking to the wrong descriptions of people that they don't have to. Like, you know, you can have a Hispanic girl be your final girl, and I can't think of a time when that's happened.
No, and it's not like, even if you're gonna stick to the final girl trope, it's not like you need the physical attributes to be a part of that personality, that character. There's no reason for that.
But that's why it's such a big deal, and there's no people of color who are final girls that I can think of. And maybe that's my fault. Please tell me if I am missing someone.
I doubt you are.
But yeah, they're just people of color, and people of differences are tokens in these movies, and nobody's doing anything to change it. And there are some movies, definitely there are more feminist horror movies that are coming out, but there's no feminist final girl horror movies, slasher movies that are coming out that are working to change this and working to include people from different backgrounds or different ethnicities as their main characters and their main focus. Basically, the rules of being a final girl in Hollywood are you have to be white, you have to be brunette, you have to be willing to sacrifice yourself in order to stop this force coming at you that's like attacking you, and you have to be strong and brave and quick, and you have to be bookish and virginal, and you know, you can't be like sassy. You can only be sassy in the end. That's the only time that you get to, you know,
you give like the punchline or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
there's that final line where, you know, you get to come back with something quick that's not even that great because some dude wrote it and it's not good. So basically, unless you are white, pretty, strong, virginal woman, your life isn't valued.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of those other characters die. All of those other women die. And they're usually, like, pretty brutal deaths. I mean, men die pretty brutal deaths, too. But I feel like the women's deaths are always, like, they have a little bit more of a punch to them.
And kind of sexualized a lot of the
Yeah,
time.
a lot of the time they are. Like, Rose McGowan, her death scene in Scream, it's stupid. The way she dies is stupid. She gets stuck in a cat door because her boobs are too big to get out of it. And then she's crushed. Her ribcage, her breasts are basically crushed in, and that's how she dies. And throughout the entire movie, like, Rose McGowan she's fairly, like, she has large boobs. Like, they're there. But they, like, definitely, they put her in these really high-collared shirts, which I don't know, like, if anyone's ever paid attention, but when you have big boobs and you wear, like, a turtleneck or a high-collared shirt, it just accentuates. You would think that it doesn't, but it makes them bigger.
Yep.
And so throughout the entire movie, she's wearing shirts that have high collars, and she's wearing shirts that have high collars and no stomach. And so this entire time, you are paying attention to just her boobs. You're not paying attention to anything else. And then when she finally dies, she dies because of her breasts, because they're so big, and that's her fault. Like, she should not have big boobs, and she shouldn't accentuate her boobs.
I mean, I would love if that was a choice to just not have them.
Listen, I have gained a bit of weight, and my boobs will not stop growing, and I hate it. I don't like it. There's a fact about me.
I feel you, girl.
There's a fact about me. It's not fun. They're not fun.
They are not fun to deal with.
I mean, maybe some people think they're fun. I don't like that.
I mean, those people generally don't have, like, real ones, though. I mean, and it's I have no problem with that, but it's just that those are different. Like,
they are different.
They don't weigh the same, and they behave differently, and it's just a different situation. So
it is, and also that's a situation that you get to put yourself in.
Yeah, it's a choice.
It's a choice, and it's fine to make that choice, but it's something that you are preparing yourself for, and you're putting yourself into that situation.
Yeah.
Another reason why the final girl trope needs to end is because it puts men and women in a good versus evil situation. The woman is good, and the man is evil. And the issue with the man being evil is that, one, men aren't evil. Men are not inherently evil. And that adds to rape culture.
They're not inherently violent either.
Exactly. They don't have this bad guy character inside of them.
No, and the more we, like, not encourage, but the more we dismiss and excuse male behavior with saying that it's inherent,
yes,
it's not doing good for anyone. All it does is perpetuate. It excuses bad behavior. It perpetuates rape culture.
Yes, that men are, that this is just how men are.
Mm-hmm.
And
it takes away the responsibility for their actions.
It really does. And it doesn't allow women to have bad characteristics. It doesn't allow women to be evil. And women can be bad people. There are bad women out there who are just bad women. And they're not any... Their evil is not any different than a man's evil. There are some films that do it really well. And The Rise of Leslie Vernon is one of my favorite movies of all time. One of my favorite horror movies. It is a mockumentary. I suggest that everyone watch it. Gare, I know you haven't seen it. I think you would really love it.
It's so good. It's really, really good. I love it.
I'm going to add it to my list right now.
Okay, so The Rise of Leslie Vernon, it's very self-aware. It's a mockumentary. And it's about a woman who has a documentary crew. And she is following Leslie Vernon, who is kind of like Jason and Freddy. He's all of them mixed together. And she's following her around, and when we meet him, he's just like this regular guy. And he's like in his childhood home. And go ahead.
I love how I love like the whole, like how you just have to accept that there's a documentary crew following a serial killer and like just be okay with that, because it obviously doesn't make sense.
No.
But the way that they do it is really great.
It's wonderful. They do it, it's as if this is Leslie's job. So, and you're following him as he's doing his job and as he's preparing for this night, and they go over the final girl trope. And this whole, like, the whole beginning is built on him following this girl who's going to be his final girl, and he's talking about it, and that's the most important thing to him, is the final girl. And he's going over all of these characteristics of, like, who she is and what she has to do in the movie, I guess. What she has to do, what she has to accomplish. So she has to be virginal, which he's like, oh yeah, this girl's definitely virginal. You know, she has to be young, and she's young, and she has to, I don't want to give everything away, but in the end, she would have come through on the other side. She has a rebirth, and her rebirth starts with a very phallic symbol. And it's so good, and there's like a twist to it that made that so perfect.
Yeah. It's really great.
I love it. It's so good, Garrett. You need to watch it. But they definitely got it right. They got the final girl right.
Everyone needs to watch it. And it's really hard to do... I mean, would you call it a satire?
Oh, I would.
It's really hard to do a satire that doesn't end up becoming what it's commenting on.
Yeah.
In some ways, like, you know how Glee started out and it was kind of making fun of what it was, and then it just became it.
Yeah.
It's like that. And it's, I think it's difficult to get it right. And movie really does. It
gets it right. I love it. It's so good. Another movie that I've mixed emotions about was the Evil Dead remake. So Jane Levy is in it, and she was in Don't Breathe, which I haven't seen. There are issues with it for people. I'll watch it eventually. I know I said I was really into horror at the beginning of this, and now I'm saying I haven't seen any of these movies.
She's the girl from Suburgatory?
Yeah, she was in Suburgatory. She was wonderful in Suburgatory. But she's in the remake of Evil Dead, and spoilers, it's been enough years. So I don't want to ruin Leslie Vernon for you, Gare, but because I care about it. But so when that movie came out, I assumed that she was Ash. I assumed that she was Ash, his character. And I knew that there was a man named Ash, but that it didn't occur to me that he would be Ash. I just kind of assumed that she was going to take over that role. And she does. That's the twist in the movie, is that she ends up being Ash, and her brother, who his name is Ash, is killed. But what really bothered me was when I went to see it, I saw it with a bunch of guys, and at the end they were like, oh, it's so cool that, like, she ends up being, like, the Ash character. And I was like, but why didn't that occur to you throughout this entire film? Like, she has, like, she's the main focus of this movie. Why would it be, like, this guy? And I think what bothers me is that the whole final girl trope, like, they weren't looking for that. And so they assumed that this girl wasn't going to be it, even though it's clear that she is the one that is going to come out in the end, not because of the trope, but just because of the writing of the film. Like, it's obvious that she is going to be the one that's last standing. But all of these guys that I saw it with, and I didn't go with girls, I went with a bunch of guys, so I don't know if that was the difference. But they just assumed that it wasn't going to be her,
Right.
because they were looking for a man to fill that role.
Well, and the writing is playing on people's assumptions and
assumption
prejudices.
of that.
Yeah.
And then it's like a big twist. It's a girl. And I was like, I liked that it was her because I love that actress. I think she's amazing. But I hated that that's what they did. Like, I liked it while I was watching it, but it was because I knew who was coming out in the end. And I assumed that other people did, but then when I looked back on it, I really had an issue with it. And I have an issue with that being the plot twist.
So it's gross in the way that riddle, you know, that riddle where it's like, I think the son and father get into an accident, the son ends up at the hospital, and the doctor comes in and says, "Oh, I can't operate on this boy. This is my son." And the whole thing is that it plays on your
Assumption
that a woman can't be a doctor, or just not that a woman can't be a doctor, but the default is always going to be a man.
Yes.
So I think it's gross in that way.
Oh, definitely.
Because it's like, okay, so yeah, you tricked me, but now I feel gross about it.
And that also happens a lot not a lot, but it's definitely happened where, like, the twist is that a woman was the killer. Like, Urban Legends is the first one that comes to mind because you're not looking for it, even though my mom called that. My sister and I were watching it at home. My mom walked in. My mom hates horror movies. My mom walked into the living room and was like, she did it. And then walked back out and, like, never came back, but, like, called it. And we're like, but we had that reaction. We're like, no, she didn't do it. Obviously, she's not the killer. She couldn't do it. And then in the end, that was the twist. So,
yeah,
you know, that's my issue with the final girl. The rules of being a final girl. I don't like it. I don't think it's feminist. And it's used as a feminist argument by a lot of people, that this strong woman comes through in the end and she's the one who's killing the bad guy. It's used as a feminist argument. I don't buy it.
She's put into too many boxes.
Exactly. You know? There's no layers to her. I don't like it. I don't buy it. I'm done.
We're done.
Done with it. Oh, Cabin in the Woods, though. They're silly about it.
Yeah.
I like, though, that my favorite part in the Cabin in the Woods is when they release whatever it is that makes the girl, like, the blonde girl, the blonde friend, she starts, like, dancing and being, like, very overly sexual, and the, like, stoner guy, he says, "This isn't you, why are you acting like this? You take, like, this, and this class," which are, like, very hard classes to take, and everyone's kind of just like, oh, yeah, like, we're not acting like ourselves. Like, these labels are being put on us.
Yeah.
So I like Cabin in the Woods a lot. Some people kind of, like, argue that Cabin in the Woods perpetuates the final girl. But I don't think it does, because it addresses that that's what they're doing and that they're placing this label on people that aren't true. They're placing these labels on these people that aren't correct, that aren't accurate.
It's somewhere between being satire and self-aware.
Yeah.
In a way that I think works because it's funny.
Yeah.
Exactly. And entertaining.
What were you going to say?
I just love Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, okay.
I love Cabin in the Woods.
Okay, cool.
Mermen forever.
That's the best part.
Mermen. I love when they are in, like, the elevator and you see all of the different creatures. Oh my god, I love that. I could just look at that. I I love it.
It's really neat.
My favorite sound effect is the ding when the elevator doors open, and that's just pure geek bliss.
Oh, it
Right
really is. Like, and for me, like, seeing them, it was very visual. So, like, that moment in the elevator when you see them, and there's, like, the guy who's, like, Pinhead, and I was just like, that's my guy. My other guy, first guy is John Goodman, second guy is Pinhead. You know. Yeah, so, final girl trope, I'm over it, we're all over it. Let's do something else. Hey?
Yeah, you know, like, let's get something that's interesting.
And we can have women who come through in the end, like the Babadook. I don't necessarily love that movie, but I think it did a really good job of having a final girl flaws and issues, and it's all about her flaws and issues, and she comes through at the end growing as a person. That's what horror movies should be.
It's not a lot to ask.
It's not. And I love horror movies. I love the bad ones. I love Scream. I love Halloween. I love Texas Chainsaw Man. I love all of them. But I'm bored.
Yeah.
I'm bored.
Yeah, I mean, it's time to innovate that genre.
Change it up. And there are people who are doing it, definitely. There are people who are doing it, and I'm excited about all of it. And now that Trump is president, it's definitely going to take a turn. I don't know what that turn's going to be, but we're going to see a lot of new stuff coming from the genre.
Like a million more Purge movies. Except they won't be funny anymore.
Really, they won't be funny anymore. Brie and I would go see Purge movies, and we're just like, this is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous concept. And now I'm pretty sure that's the future. So, get your Purge insurance.
Wait, is that a thing in one of the movies?
Yeah, that's in the first movie. The dad, Ethan Hawke, sells Purge insurance.
Oh, I thought he did, like, security systems.
Oh, maybe it is security systems. But I'm sure Purge insurance is a thing, too.
I mean, if you die, you're dead, though.
Well, yeah, but you probably take insurance out on other people. And then...
That gets messy.
Probably take insurance out on your property.
Yeah, true. Ooh. Oh, God, that whole concept.
See, the Purge scares me because there were people, when it came out, that were like, oh, I'd love a Purge, which is like, that's weird. But first of all, no, you wouldn't, because what the Purge shows is, like, best case scenario, and it's awful.
Oh, yeah.
My mind goes to, like, what the Purge would actually be, and I'm not into it.
No.
But yeah, I'm sure there will be more Purge movies. I'm sure that there will be I think that there's going to be a lot more movies that are racially motivated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's going to be a lot of culty kind of movies coming through with the new president. No, we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about politics right now. So that's it for Final Girls. All right, we done?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. I think that's it for this one.
That's the end of the show.
The end of the world as we know it.
No, Gary.
Wait, what's the Liam Chop song?
This is the song. This is the song that doesn't end.
But did they do that at the end?
I think so.
I don't remember. You know what song my teacher would sing at the end of the day?
Go home.
No. I had a kindergarten teacher. She was really mean. Her name was Mrs. Howell. And she used to carry around a guitar, which sounds cool, but she was not nice. She was not a nice lady. But at the end of the day, she would sing a song, and it was like, clean up, everybody, everywhere.
Wasn't that Barney?
I don't know. I didn't watch Barney as a kid.
I think that was a Barney song.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I didn't watch Barney.
Everybody do their share?
Yeah. Well, she got a Barney song. She sang it.
She just like appropriated Barney's song. She was like, this is my song now.
Mine. So Mrs. Howell.
Sang the hell out of that Barney song.
Yeah, were you a Barney fan?
No, Mrs.
guess-
Howell sang the hell.
You're too old, aren't you?
A little too old, yeah.
You
I was
are.
also like, even as a kid, I was like, T-Rex, and then like they made like the Barney version of T-Rex, and my little kid brain was like, no, that's not a T-Rex.
Sounds very much like Matthew.
T-Rex is big and it's scary.
You're big and scary.
I just like lamb chop as a kid.
I like that.
That was my.
I love lamb chop.
She was like, lamb chop. You want to talk about female role model?
Ugh.
She was a sassy girl, that lamb chop. She was snarky. Ugh, salty lamb. I love her. Salty lamb. All right, well, that's the end of this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Next, we're not really sure what we're doing next. We haven't thought about it.
You'll find out.
You'll find out. We'll pick soon.
Whatever it is, it's gonna be good.
You're gonna love it. Follow us on social media: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
As She Sways podcast.
I thought you said Etch-a-Sketch.
Oh.
She's Playing Podcast.
Etch-a-Sketch.
Etch-a-Sketch. At She's Playing Podcast. Or email us if you have any questions or suggestions or you need advice.
Oh my god, we're so good at giving advice.
We're so good at giving advice. Seriously,
Really?
you should do that.
We
That's going to be a thing now. People need to email us and we'll give them advice. So, She's Playing Podcast at gmail.com. We will give you advice.
Or just email us like little pieces of sexism you've experienced in your life.
Yeah, we'll read it.
We'll talk about that.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Do you think Ty's listening?
I hope.
I hope. Hi, Ty.
Hi, Ty.
She's Playing.